Greetings builders, Daniel here and welcome to the first video of this awesome new league. Crucible was just reviewed and guys, I must say I'm pretty hyped. First of all is that this league's mechanic is very similar to Ultimatum that was one of the GGG's best creations. Second is that weapon passive tree that they pulled off. Oh my god, the build possibilities just went through the roof. I'm so excited to try out. On today's video, I'm gonna share with you 6 starter builds that after reading the patch notes, I know that will be amazing for you to start Crucible on a high note. Since I don't have access to the new passive tree yet, there won't be a complete guide for those builds until next week. But if you're watching this after April 4th, feel free to find the links to the complete guides in the video description. I'd like to start this very special video with my favorite starter build of all time, the Arctotem's Hierophant with the Templar class. On this build we use many totems that cast the arc skill for a fast and safe clear speed. Listing the pros of this build, I would start with how cheap and easy it is to complete your Atlas using this building. With almost no investment, you have a powerful, safe and fast character that will be the perfect currency farmer for this and future builds. Now to list the cons, this build doesn't have access to evasion or spell suppression, but don't worry, totem builds are very safe to play. Another issue is that some players might find this gameplay to be a little tedious and too easy, but as you know, this is just a matter of taste. As for budget, I can only estimate it for now based on previous prices, but Arctotems used to be one of the cheapest builds in existence. You can get it destroying early endgame maps with only around 35 chaos. To comfort but advance to yellow maps, you need to invest around 90 chaos, and for easily completing your Atlas, I recommend investing around 3 divides, but you can totally do it with less. This build needs 3 mandatory unique items, but they are normally very cheap and easy to get. The first one is the Soul Mantle Armor, that causes Socket Gems to be supported by a level 20 spell totem. This grants us an extra support skill gem. We also need a Kikazaru Ring to counter the effect of curses. This is because a side effect of Soul Mantle that will apply a random curse on you whenever a totem dies. Finally, we also need the Self-Flagellation Jewel that grants up to 20% increased damage for each curse on you. Thanks to Soul Mantle, you'll be always with around 9 curses, resulting on 180% increased damage. For clear speed, this build gets 9 out of 10. Arc is an awesome skill that chains through many enemies and easily clear big packs. This build counts with 4 totems casting this amazing skill. The boss damage deserves 9 out of 10. With the right debuffs and all 4 totems summoned, this build can take even big bosses down without any issue. For the survivability, I would also give it 9 out of 10. As a totem build, you always be far from action while your totems do all the work. So if you know how to mind your position, you can easily complete high tier maps with low grade gear. Above all, this build still counts with high armor and high block chance. Following, we have a very popular starter, the Righteous Fire Juggernaut with the Marauder class. Here you can use all the tankiness and life regeneration from the Juggernaut to easily sustain the Righteous Fire damage and just walk your way through the end game. To list the pros of this build, I'll have to start with how comfortable and smooth this gameplay is. As soon as you get this build sustaining Righteous Fire, you start clearing maps without even noticing. This character is also super tanky and it will be hard to die even if you try to. Now to list the cons, I'll start saying that the boss damage isn't great, but don't worry, you kill map bosses easily even on a low budget, but Guardians and Pinnacle bosses will take longer than usual if you don't invest a few Divine Orbs. Another issue is that the leveling is a little bit complicated since we use a spell as a Marauder, but if you follow closely the steps on the leveling section from the complete guides, you won't have a problem. As for budget, you can get it destroying early endgame maps with only around 105 chaos, but if you follow the crafting tips on the complete guide, this can get a lot cheaper. To comfort but advance to yellow maps, you need to invest around 150 chaos, and for easily completing your Atlas, I recommend investing around 4 divines, mostly on your survivability. You need 2 mandatory unique items for this build. The first are the Legacy of Fury boots. They scorch nearby enemies and cause them to explode for an amazing clear speed. Those boots might be a little bit expensive during the first days of a new league, but don't worry, you'll be fine playing without them until the price drops. The other mandatory unique is the Immortal Flash belt. This one grants a huge amount of life regeneration and even a great armor buff. For clear speed, I'll give this build 10 out of 10. As mentioned before, as soon as this build is complete, you just walk and watch every enemy burn only because of your presence. This means not stopping for casting and saving a lot of time while farming. The boss damage on the other hand is not that great. I would give it just 7 out of 10 because it will need investment to do a decent DPS on pinnacle bosses and guardians. But don't worry, this build still kills map bosses easily on a low budget. For the survivability, this build surely has 10 out of 10. As you can see on the POB, this build gets over 100,000 armor, 2000 life regeneration per second, over 87% of all elemental resistance, and even over 50% chance to block spell damage. Look at the effective HP, it goes beyond 240,000. Even if you try to die, it wouldn't be easy. Finally, we have the Summon Raging Spirits Guardian with the Templar class. As you might know, minion builds are among the best starters out there. This one is in my opinion the winner. It's a very simple and safe build for you to complete all content without much investment or effort. Awesome for beginners. To list the pros of this build, I would start with how accessible it is. It's super cheap, simple and easy to play. This build is for everyone. It also comes with a great boss damage and survivability. Now to list the cons, I'll start saying that Raging Spirits have a short duration, and this means that you need to keep recasting them while playing. This might reduce your speed a little. Other than that, this build also doesn't have access to evasion or reach. As for budget, you can get it destroying early endgame maps with only around 66 chaos. To comfortably advance to yellow maps, you need to invest around 100 chaos, and for easily completing your Atlas I recommend investing around 4 divines, but you can totally do it with less. You need only one mandatory unique item for this build, the Devouring Diadem, which allows you to activate all auras and use your energy shield as mana. Even though this helmet is normally cheap, it might be expensive on the first days of a new league, but you just need to follow the instructions on the complete guide and you'll be fine without it until the price drops. For clear speed, this build gets 8 out of 10. This is because you have to keep resummoning your Raging Spirits. But as you can see, even though this clear speed isn't super fast, it's perfectly fine to play and have a good time. The boss damage is great, it's a 9 out of 10. If you apply all the buffs and maintain 20 spirits summoned, you easily reach over 15 million DPS, more than enough to decimate all endgame bosses in seconds. For the survivability, I'll give it 10 out of 10. This is because we're talking about a minion build where you just need to summon them and wait behind while they destroy and tank everything for you. You just need to mind your position. But with this build, even if they manage to reach you, you still have high armor and block chance, resulting on an effective HP of over 130,000. And that's it for today, guys. What did you think? Will any one of those be your starter for Crucible? I recommend you not to rush your decision. Tomorrow I have 3 more awesome starter builds on the second half of this video. And before the league launches on April 7th, I will still release 12 complete guides for Crucible starters. So stay tuned on the channel, in the next days many useful stuff are to come. As always, I wish you guys an amazing weekend and don't forget to keep building.